All right, guys, welcome to our deals of the week. This week for St. Pete, we've got some really good ones. If you've seen the news, you know that the market is relatively soft. A lot of sellers are taking their houses off the market because they're not getting good bids on them. So that's brought out a lot of the sort of doom and gloom YouTubers. So those guys are almost always wrong because they just tell one story about how everything's going to crash. That's not to say that you should be buying a house right now. If you're not comfortable, if you think the market's got further to fall, then by all means, sit it out a little while longer, maybe reassess in the spring or in the summer. But remember, prices are down right now. Lots and lots of houses are selling for 2021, 2022, and certainly 2023 prices. So if you think the run-up was going to last forever, obviously we know that's not the case. You're getting the chance to buy homes on sale right now. The fear that I see that a lot of people have is that if they spend 500 grand on a house, is it going to be worth 450 in a year? And so if you plan on staying in a house for a short period of time, a year, 2, 3 years, these are the old rules. You shouldn't buy a house. Typically, houses appreciate between 3 and 4%, hotter areas, maybe 5, 6% a year. Take into account transaction costs. You're not going to make money if you sell a house a year or two after you buy it. So keep that in mind. But if you feel like prices have come down enough to sort of dip your toes, what you want to do, especially if you're buying a house in the Pinellas County area, St. Pete, Largo, even over in Tampa Bay, is apply the rules of a buyer's market, right? So, look at things like the number of days on the market, the number of price drops. Try to get some understanding of what the seller is thinking, how motivated they are. Look for established neighborhoods. Again, I've said this a million times. You're not just buying a house, you're buying the neighborhood. You want the neighborhood to be stable. Look for low maintenance houses. This is not a great time to be making a capital investment in a house. And I don't mean fixing up a kitchen or doing some elbow grease or whatever. I'm talking about system stuff like look for newer roofs, AC, electric, plumbing, that kind of stuff. And secondarily to that is those could be insurance issues too. So you want to look at the age of systems to make sure that you can get insurance. And then finally, number 4, look for houses that have some broad appeal because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You may buy intending to stay there for 10, 15, 20 years. Job change or whatever circumstance might cause you to need to sell the house faster than you wanted to. And houses with broad appeal sell faster than quirky houses with odd layouts. 3-bedroom, 1-baths are not going to sell as fast as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So just consider that if you're buying. Stick to the buyer's market rules. So let's just jump into our first house, which is at 102 7th Avenue Southeast. It's in Largo. We'll jump over. If you're not familiar with Largo, it's starting to get pretty popular. And it's some really nice neighborhoods over there. This is kind of in the Largo Central Park neighborhood. So let me just zoom out a little bit so you can get a feel for where we are. And so you can see you're close to the beaches, really good access to the beaches. And then as far as downtown goes, it's going to be, 35, 40-minute ride. So you're not close to downtown St. Pete, but you're closer to downtown Clearwater. You have good access to the St. Pete Clearwater Airport, which is right here. And then, of course, over to Tampa this way. So it's a pretty good location, close to the beaches. There are some flood zones in the Largo area. The houses that we look at are not going to be in a flood zone. I'm never going to put a deal of the week for a house that's in a flood zone. Some exceptions maybe if the house is elevated, but most of these houses are going to be on slab, in the 300,000 to 600,000 range. You're not going to typically get an elevated house at that price range. So this one is in Largo. So let's take a look and see if it fits our criteria. First off, let's look. It's been 184 days on the market, so 6 months on the market. That's a good sign. We want to pair that with some price drops. So let's see what we've got there. So this house went on the market in June for $539. It went pending right away. Back on the market for some reason, we don't know. And then 2 price changes since then. But if you look at this, we started at $539. We're only down to $524. So that's about a $15,000 drop. Now, we don't always know exactly what the seller is thinking, but my guess is they put it on the market. Less than 4 weeks later, they got an offer. We're going to assume it was somewhere in this neighborhood. And they've kind of stuck to their guns a little bit and barely inched down over the next 4 or 5 months. And now we're a month and a half since the last price change. I'm questioning how motivated these sellers are. Doesn't mean they're not, doesn't mean they wouldn't entertain an offer. But as I've said in other videos, we like to see methodical lowering of prices, every few weeks or every month at least. And I'm not seeing that here. So I'm not saying this is a terrible sign, but this is not a sign that I'd like to see. So let's take a look at the house. First of all, we've got a 3-2 with 1,832 square feet and at $287 a square foot, which is pretty good. And this is, a fairly new construction house. It was built in 2025, actually. So let's go back here. Maybe I missed something. So this is a new construction that went on the market at $539, is down to $524. So the house was sold for $135, torn down. A brand new house was built. So we've got obviously a builder or developer here that maybe is not being as accommodating or reacting to the market the way that they should. So let's just jump in the picture and see what we've got here. So nice exterior, two-car garage, beautiful lot, some oak trees and some palm trees, nice grass, a brick street. Everything you would expect in a brand new house with the impact windows, really nice open kitchen. That's a big kitchen. It's brand new. You're not going to have too many arguments or too many issues with the condition and the layout here. Very neutral, well staged. You'll notice no blinds on any of these windows. That's just a little pet peeve of mine when a builder builds a brand new house and they don't even bother putting at least mini blinds or something on the windows. Nice big primary suite with it's a huge primary suite. Primary bathrooms, beautiful. Obviously this is move-in ready. And the second bathroom. And this is probably the hallway down to it's a laundry room, so probably hallway to the garage. So everything's spotless. All right, so let's just go through our 4 rules for the buyer's market. Number 1, the days on market plus the price. I'd say we're in pretty good shape there. $287 a square foot for new construction, pretty unusual. Only a couple of price drops. We're going to give that, we'll say, an 8 out of 10. I'd like to see this builder be a little more aggressive trying to find a buyer. Broad appeal. Nothing wrong with this house at 3.2, 1,800 square feet, plus a 2-car garage. This is the most sellable house really out there, size-wise and bedrooms and bath-wise. Obviously, number 3, our maintenance situation. Not going to be any issues there. Of course, you get an inspection done, but everything is brand new, so you're not going to have to worry about the systems for 15 or 20 years. But we do have one red flag here, and that is, honestly, the neighborhood. The general area is very nice, but, whatever, if you use Zillow or Homes.com or whatever, always do the street view. I'm sure that you do. This is a picture from when it was being done. I'm just wondering, even though it's a brick street, if the neighborhood is up to the level of the house. You generally don't want the best house in the neighborhood. That's going to limit your upside. Now, this could have been a storm-related thing here, and this could have been fixed up. But, again, whenever you see not just pickup trucks, but any cars backed in, not in a driveway, that usually tells me they're unregistered, because the city and stuff would drive by and see that they're not registered, and you can get fined for that or have to move that. So Sometimes you see people back in cars that are not registered. The neighborhood itself, I'm just wondering if it is up to the standards of this house. Now, that first house across the street was pretty bad. The yards and the houses are all smaller, and then we get into a mobile home park. Nothing wrong with mobile home park, but again, this is not going to boost the value of an 1,800 square foot brand new construction, $500,000 plus house. So, days on market, we'll give it an 8. Broad appeal, we'll give it a 10. Low maintenance, we'll give it a 10. Established neighborhood is a red flag. We'd want to go out and maybe drive around a little bit more, but I'm going to put that at a 5 right now. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment. Would you move to Largo at this price? Would you move into this neighborhood at this price? $524,900, even though it's $287 a square foot. That's still a lot of money to be sort of around, to be surrounded by homes that are much smaller and not in as quite good condition. So that's house number 1. We're in Largo. Let's take a look at house number 2. All right, let's look at house number 2. This one is also in North Largo. So let's take a quick look at the map so that you can get a feel for where this one is. So a little bit of a drive to downtown, probably 40 minutes or so, very close to the beaches. Again, really good access to the airport. So I would argue a really, actually pretty good location if you're willing to move out to Largo. This house has been on the market 103 days. So it passes our 90-day. We'd like to see houses on the market 90 days. We'd like to know that the seller's getting, if not desperate, at least willing to entertain some offers below list price. So let's see what the price action is on this after just 3 months. And we've got October 6th, it went on the market at $625, and we've had 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfectly methodical price drops. I will also say that the listing agent is the owner of this house, so they clearly know what they're doing. When you put a house on the market, if you're not getting a ton of showings in the first couple of weeks, let alone offers, you got to shake things up. You got to drop the price, which she did here by just $5,000. Didn't work. Dropped it by another $20,000 just a week later, and then another $25,000, 9 days after that, and then now down to $559. We're a month since the last price drop, so we wonder if maybe they're kind of locked into this price. Who knows what they paid for it? Let's see if we've got any indication. So it sold for $413, and it was renovated and then put on the market at $649. So she's down $90,000. Okay, so let's take a look at the pictures and see what we've got here. I mean, this is really a beautiful house. Well, first of all, let's go back to, do we have some broad appeal here? We've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,785 square feet at $313 a square foot. Now remember, that first house was $287 a square foot, and it was brand new construction. This is a new renovation, but not brand new construction. So the neighborhood may be the difference maker here, but it is really tastefully done. I mean, it almost looks like new construction. Beautiful open living area. A lot of light comes in with double sliders back there. This looks like it's staged and very, very tastefully staged at that. Good sized kitchen. And this is interesting little dinette set back here. I'm not sure what that would have been originally, but that's a nice little touch. And then you can always tell new appliances. I'm sure you know this, but when that blue sticky stuff is on the front of them, that usually tells us that it's a new appliance. There's impact windows. I mean, this is a really beautiful renovation here and very tastefully staged. I mean, styled but not overstyled. Big 2-car garage, a nice screen porch. I mean, this is what I like to see when you get some shade back here. Some nice shade trees, and we've got a nice little storage shed back here, even though you have a 2-car garage. Maybe not room for a pool, but so just a gorgeous house. And let's take a quick look at the street view, because remember that first house was maybe not in the greatest neighborhood. So this was a picture pre-renovation. And you look directly across the street. Beautiful house there. Yeah, I like this neighborhood. These houses are pretty much similar size and look to be very well kept. So I'm kind of digging that. So what have we got here? Let's take a look. We've got days on the market, just 103. We've had some methodical price drops to the tune of $90,000. This is a listing agent who's the owner, who's responding to the market, is trying to find a price at which people will come in and see the house. And I think she's doing that. Is she close? I don't know. I just feel like 300 a square foot is now sort of where we're going to be. This house has a new roof, new water heater, fence. The windows are older, but they look to be impact windows. So this is essentially a 2025 renovation with a 10-year-old AC. Not the end of the world, obviously. I'd like to see something newer than that. But I feel like we're going to be under $300 a square foot. So I think we're a little bit high there, but the house certainly has broad appeal. We're going to give that a 10, a 3.2 with a 2-car garage, 1,700 square feet. You can't beat that. The days on market plus the price drops, we're going to give that a 9. Low maintenance. Other than the AC, most everything is new, so we'll give that an 8. And then the established neighborhood, I'm going to give that a 10. This house, to me, is a winner all the way around, except I think we might be one notch above where we should be. So this is a really nice house in North Largo for $559,000. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Is this too much in that area? I think we're probably getting close. I think maybe at 535, I would jump on this house. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Also remember to hit the subscribe button. And now let's take a look at house number 3. All right, let's take a look at house number 3 now. And this is in St. Petersburg. It's at 4390 44th Street. It's kind of in the center of St. Pete. Let's just jump in and take a quick look at the map. So here's your downtown. So we're almost on the edge of Leelman and Kenneth City, just on the other side of 34th Street. So quick access to 275 over to Tampa, about 25 minutes to the beach, maybe 15, 20 minutes to downtown. So a really solid location. Definitely not in a flood zone here, which is nice. Now this house has been on the market for 119 days, which is good. We like to see anything over 90 days. We know people start to feel a little bit of pressure at that point. And as far as price drops go, it's not great. They put the house on the market in August, and then about a month later, they dropped it by $10,000. Now, I'm only putting this in the deals of the week because this is a newer house, and we're still in pretty good shape at $328 a square foot. So, we're at, and this one is, as far as broad appeal goes, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,796 square feet at $328 a square foot. And it's got impact windows and doors, no flood insurance required. It was built in 2023. You get that 4th bedroom, so you're going to pay a little bit of a premium for that. So will this house go under $300 a square foot? Really kind of hard to say. But let's take a look at the pictures, see what you think. It's got that sort of new build look to it with the 2-car garage out front. Really well staged. Nice open. These pictures are a little washed out for my taste. Nice open living area. Pretty good sized, but not huge primary suite with a good sized primary bathroom. A very high style backyard. Somebody's into the tigers. So we got the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th bedrooms here. I don't know if somebody was using this as an Airbnb or short-term rental, but whenever you see 2 sets of bunk beds in 1 bedroom, that's typically what you think. Also, sometimes, I mean, it could be kids, but you see a lot of this stuff in Airbnbs as well, and a ping pong table and a foosball table. So pretty nice. And let's take a look at the street view here. You know, I don't like a broken down boat in the next yard. So again, we've got the same situation here, you know, and this is not to be critical of anybody, but when I see things like, all right, so let's go through our 4 rules here. 119 days on the market. That's good. We're past our 90-day mark. We've only had one price drop, which is really interesting to me, that in almost 3 months, no price drops, and they only start at $599, so they're only down $10,000. So I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm going to give this a 5 or even a 4. That tells me that we don't have a super motivated seller here. It's not a reason not to go see the house, but it's just not what I like to see. So days on market and price drops, we're going to grade that a 4. Broad appeal, we're going to give it a 10. It's a 4.2 with almost 1,800 square feet. That's what we want. Maintenance-wise, the house was built in 2023, so we know roof, AC, all that stuff is the most, at most a couple of years old. Oh, and here it is. I missed this earlier. This was an Airbnb that they were charging $257 a night. So some parts of Largo, the city of Largo, allow the short-term rentals. That sometimes turns people off. It's, I guess, similar to buying a rental car. Psychologically, we think the house was treated more poorly than if the owner was living there, but that's what inspections are for. Plus, the house is only 2 years old. I wouldn't worry so much about that. So the established neighborhood situation is what concerns me. I'm not crazy about what I see for the street view, but that street view could have been a couple of years ago. Some houses could have been fixed up around it, and it might be perfectly fine. It's a house that I think we would definitely want to go see. Drop a comment, let me know. We're at $589, $328 a square foot. I feel like that's a bit high. I feel like we should be maybe, I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like we should be in the very low 5s for this house, even though it's new construction, because I'm going to ding it for the fact that this looks to be one of the nicer houses in the neighborhood. So drop a comment, let me know what you think. And also in the comment, I'll pin a link to my ebook for the 4 buyers market rules. We talk about them in every video, but it might be good to look at them before you go out and start shopping for a house. I hope you enjoyed the deals of the week. My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm a realtor here in St. Petersburg. I cover all the Tampa Bay area. If you're thinking about buying, selling, shoot me an email, give me a call, send me a text. I'd love to help you out. And with that, I will see you next time.